Welcome back to the Barrel Talk Podcast. We are back with another episode. The NBA draft is a week away, a little under a week away. We have Game 7 on Sunday, and as soon as Game 7 ends Sunday night, we are officially in the NBA offseason, and the draft is next Wednesday. So this is going to be my final NBA mock draft, first round. Super excited for this year's draft. We have seen some more reports about Ace Bailey not working out with the 76ers. And really just not working out with a whole lot of teams to get to a situation where he wants to get to. Very interesting because that's definitely going to make this draft process a little weird. It was usually Cooper Flagg 1, Dylan Harper 2, and then mainly the consensus was Ace Bailey going 3 to the Sixers. Even if there was a trade back by the Sixers, it seemed like the Ace Bailey was always going number 3. Now, in this one, I definitely see a world where he falls maybe a little bit more than people think, because when a player is going through I want to get to a certain situation, and they're not doing interviews, not doing workouts, like that, I think puts it in a lot of GM's mind that maybe we don't want this guy in our locker room. Maybe it's a character thing. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. So there's just more questions that come in the minds of other GMs, I feel like, when somebody like Ace Bailey is doing the things that he's doing. But we'll see how far he falls. This is going to be my final mock draft. We've already done one without trades, one with trades, having some fun with the trades and everything else like that. It could be a very trade-heavy NBA draft. But the more and more I do research on this class, I really do think there's a lot of hidden gems in this class. I know last year was the quote-unquote weak NBA draft, but I think this one has a lot to offer for sure. But Dallas Mavericks obviously staying at number 1, taking Cooper Flagg, getting that out the way early. We don't even need to discuss that anymore. We've known that ever since the draft lottery ended. And the Spurs at 2, if they're staying pat and they're staying with this pick, I'm going to go Dylan Harper. I know they have a lot going on there in the guard spot, but Castle, Fox, Dylan Harper, with those 3 alone, you won't need to worry about any guard play as long as you have Victor Wembanyama pretty much. And even if something happens to where you move off De'Aaron Fox, like something crazy in the future, like you have Dylan Harper, you have Stephon Castle, and even if you draft Dylan Harper, that doesn't mean down the line you can't go and pivot and make some move for Giannis Antetokounmpo maybe next offseason, because right now it looks like Giannis is going to be on the Milwaukee Bucks going into next year. So Dylan Harper still fits what you want to do there in San Antonio. Going into next year, I assume he would be really your backup point guard and having him run the second unit. Now with Dylan Harper there, where does Chris Paul's fit come? I know he's kind of more of a mentor on this team, more of a vet in the locker room kind of vibe, but I will say, I still think even if you add Dylan Harper, still bringing back Chris Paul to help mentor him and Stephon Castle going into the future would still be a good look, especially if you're able to add somebody like a Kevin Durant, even though you're kind of pivoting off the Giannis trade talks. But Philly at 3. So this is interesting. Now that Ace Bailey isn't there on the board for them, no workouts, just doesn't seem like he's going 3 to Philadelphia, which in my opinion I think is a great spot for him. I don't know the mindset of not wanting to go to a place like Philly, have a vet like Paul George, Joel Embiid. It's a seamless fit for him. It's not like they have Paul George, but it's not like they have like guys that are going to be pushing him completely out of the rotation or anything like that at his position. I feel like it would have been a good spot for him to learn, but it is what it is. He's going to not be drafted by Philadelphia 76ers next Wednesday, and if they did draft him with no workout, that's a whole different conversation. But in my opinion, I think the best fit right here, VJ Edgecombe. I do like Trey Johnson a little bit more, but with how much scoring this team does have already in Maxey, who knows what they do with Quentin Grimes, you have Jared McCain. I feel like getting somebody like VJ Edgecombe who can play the 3 in a pinch is going to be out the gate a really, really good defender. Out the gate just next year, looking at it, he's somebody that can come off your bench and provide you some athleticism and some defense. And if the shot does come around, you have a nice 3-and-D piece that fits perfectly with what you already have on the Sixers. And in my opinion, VJ Edgecombe is more, I know Ace Bailey has like the size and they play 2 different positions, but in terms of fit and ready right now to try to win, I think VJ Edgecombe has just better intangibles and just better skills right now that the Sixers could definitely use over Ace Bailey anyways. Now, with the Charlotte Hornets. This is an interesting one because they could go the Ace Bailey route. I don't even think this is a really good environment right now for Ace Bailey and what they have on the team. You still have Miles Bridges, who maybe they tried to move. You have Grant Williams, but I think Ace Bailey needs to go to a situation where they have a good track record with developing young talent, because he is somebody that does have a good amount of holes in his game. Defensively, you have question marks. The pure shot creation at the NBA level is something I still question. The shot form looks good. Really good mid-range shooter. Could be a really, really good spot-up shooter for his size. But in my opinion, when I look at Ace Bailey, it's like I see a little bit of like a Jabari Smith Jr. without the defensive capability. So it's like you see more of like a Michael Porter Jr. kind of realm compared to like a Jabari Smith Jr. at his size. But the Charlotte Hornets, I have no idea what direction they're going to go in. I love VJ Edgecombe's spot next to LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. But with VJ going 3 now, Ace Bailey sliding, I think they could use, it might not be the most sexy, flashy pick, but he can be a nice connecting piece that can provide them some much-needed spacing on the wing. And it might be, like I said, it's not the sexiest pick, but I'm going to go Concanipple. I would go Trey Johnson, but I don't know how I like the fit with Trey Johnson, LaMelo Ball, and Brandon Miller. I think Concanipple, it might be a little bit too high. It might not have the high upside of an Ace Bailey or Trey Johnson, but if you're Charlotte, you've already taken enough high upside swings that haven't worked out for you. So I think Concanipple, somebody who has a really high floor, is going to be able to space the floor at a good level, somebody that can play off of LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller very well. I think I really like Concanipple here to the Charlotte Hornets, especially because VJ Edgecombe is off the board. Now, Utah Jazz, this is a good spot for Trey Johnson. Love Trey Johnson here. He is somebody that could be a 15 to 20 point per game scorer in the NBA off the rip. And Utah, they need to get that guy. They need to get that guy that they can go win us the game in the last couple minutes of the game, because they don't really have that high upside scoring prospect. I like Isaiah Collier. I think they stole him in last year's draft. Who knows what they're going to do with Lauri Markkanen going forward. I still like Walker Kessler depending on what they do with him going forward. So, they need Trey Johnson. I think Trey Johnson can be that high upside guy for them going long term into the future. Now, with the Washington Wizards, another interesting spot. They desperately need to go point guard, but they have the 18th overall pick as well. So I think I'm going to wait to address that, even though they have somebody like Jeremiah Fears on the board. Man, I do like Jeremiah Fears. I like him more because he's so good in the pick and roll, and I think he can really just set up guys like Alex Sarr and Bilal Coulibaly a lot better than somebody like Kasperas out of the pick and roll. Because I was thinking about Kaman, Ace Bailey, but I'm like, they really need a guard. They desperately need a guard there in Washington. I'm going to go with Jeremiah Fears. It might be kind of a little bit of a reach here at this point, but I think Jeremiah Fears in the pick and roll with Alex Sarr is going to make life so much easier on somebody like Alex Sarr, and he is a high upside guy, but I love his ability to operate the pick and roll at such a young age coming into the league. And now going on to the Pelicans, who more and more I feel like could be in a spot to where they could trade up here. But I think they're also in a situation where you could use a guard, but they have the 23rd pick via a trade now, so they have 2 picks. So looking at the 23rd pick, I think there's going to be some guards on the board that I think they can fit in. Now they take the swing. They take the swing on getting somebody like Ace Bailey in the room. Now you're going to have Herb Jones, Ace Bailey, Zion, CJ McCollum, who's a great vet. You're going to address a big man at some point, possibly more so in free agency rather than in the draft, because Derek Queen and Kamal Maliwatch, I don't know how I like either one of those fits for the Pelicans. The Pelicans need somebody more polished, NBA ready to pair next to Zion, and they're just going to take the swing on Ace Bailey. Who knows what they do with DeJounte Murray once he comes back, and Bruce Brown, but they get a steal. Not really a steal because he fell from pretty much going 3rd overall because of off the court stuff, but they're getting Ace Bailey, who is a high upside pick right there, who can fit with what they have going on, a bunch of long rangy wings that can shoot. Now, Brooklyn Nets, plethora of picks in this year's draft. They could go a number of different ways. I really like them going high upside. I think somebody like Noah Essengay, because they have so many picks, and I like kind of that middle of the pack in this first round. I think they go high upside here because I don't think he falls all the way down to them at their next pick at 19. So I'm going to go Noah Essengate, who's somebody who measured in at 6'10", who has a ton of athleticism, and Brooklyn, who is really known for their player development. I feel like they've done a really, really, really good job over there with developing their young guys over there. And, Essengate is somebody who, no matter who they draft, they're going to find a way to make Noah Essengate, because he's a very versatile player, work over there in Brooklyn. Now going on to the Toronto Raptors. Another interesting one, because it's like, what direction are they going in? They're in a lot of trade discussions and trade talks as well with Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who knows where they pivot to at the end of the day? They could really go a bunch of different directions. I think Jakob Poeltl does end up getting moved, so it's like, do you address the center position? You could use another point guard. I feel like Immanuel Quickley is more so suited off ball, being a go-to guy like scoring mindset-wise. So it's like Kasparis is here. Derek Queen is here. Derek Queen could be fun. Surrounded by a great defender in Scotty Barnes already. I see Maliwatch, but I don't know what direction like the Toronto Raptors are going in. Like, are they trying to compete next year right away? And if that's so, I kind of like somebody like Asa Newell a little bit more than Kaman. I feel like Kaman's still really, really raw to the game. And if the Toronto Raptors, from my mindset and what I've seen in rumors, they're looking to really compete. They see a kind of an opening like they did in 2019 to try to make a trade and compete right away next year. So who knows if they even are picking at 9 by the time next week comes around for the draft. But if they keep everything the same, I am going with the mindset that they're trying to go after and they're still trying to compete next year. And I'm going to go Asa Newell, because I think he is just more polished than Kaman, and I like his defensive capabilities more than Derek Queen on this team. Now going on to the Houston Rockets, who go a number of different ways. Like the Toronto Raptors, they're in a bunch of different trade rumors already as well. So they can go a couple different routes. But I love Kyle Murray-Boyles here. I love Kyle Murray-Boyles here. If you're the mindset, if you're the Houston Rockets and you do make a trade, you're thinking about giving up somebody like Dillon Brooks. I love Dillon Brooks in Houston, but if you're getting somebody of a Giannis or Kevin Durant caliber player to make money work, you give up Dillon Brooks. Somebody like Tari Eason as well would possibly be thrown in the trade. Why not get another highly capable defensive wing to replace one of those guys if you do trade them? And if you don't, you could have a lineup where offensively it might not be the greatest, but the defense that you could throw out with Brooks, Thompson, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith, and Kyle Murray-Boyles, all those long, rangy, switchable wing defenders is just what they love in Houston, and they just need to find some shooting and free agency along the way. Now, Portland can go a number of different routes. I don't think they're going to go a center with Kaman or Derek Queen here. Kasparis doesn't make sense for them. They're still seeing what Scoot Henderson can give them. I think they just need a wing that can kind of play their role. I like Rasheer Fleming. He's a little bit older. Carter Bryant has really high upside, even though the counting stats in college aren't the greatest. But I think his ability to space and play without the ball and be a slashing threat from 3 as well. I really like Carter Bryant here. Somebody who, like I said, counting stats-wise in college wasn't really the best situation for him to get up his numbers in Arizona. But with what he's able to do, he can really play off somebody like a Scoot Henderson and a Denny Abdia going forward. And he's just another wing that they can throw into the fire that has athleticism right now to be able to make an impact on day one. So looking at this, Chicago Bulls, they're in a situation to where I think this is a good spot for somebody like Kaman Maliwatch. Now I've seen in some mocks that he's gone all over the place in kind of the lottery. I think this is the perfect spot for him, because Chicago needs defense and a rim protector, but he is somebody that's so raw to the game that pairing him up, if they do bring back somebody like Josh Giddey, you still have Lonzo Ball on the roster. He is somebody that is going to need to be set up, and pairing him up with somebody like a Josh Giddey or Lonzo Ball going forward, I think is going to be a match made in heaven for someone like Kaman, that ended up, in my mock, in my opinion, falling this far, because he needs to be in the right situation to fully develop and get the right out of Kaman Maliwatch. So looking at that, I love the fit with the Chicago Bulls. Atlanta, absolutely love everything Atlanta has been doing with building this team around Trae Young. They could really go anywhere here. They could really go anywhere here. Double O is looking like he's going to be the starting center going forward. They've already piled on these 3-and-D wings with Reece Shea, Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels. Still going to have Karis LeVert. Terrence Mann, actually, in the back half of the season post-trade, was really solid for them. They could bring back Larry Nance Jr. Like, they could really go a bunch of different ways. Kobe Buffkin, how is that experiment going to work in terms of him being your backup point guard? So they could either, in my opinion, go with a backup guard, or they could pivot and go with a big, somebody, because you only really have double O. Clint Capella is going to be off the roster, I assume, this offseason. So I really like Thomas Sorber. And they also do have another pick coming up. I just think, in terms of guards, I would like Kasparis, but I think Thomas Sorber right here. I know he's dealing with the injury and if he's going to be ready to go by the start of next year, but I love Thomas Sorber in double O, kind of in your front court rotation, playing that 5 spot. Him playing off of Trae Young, I feel like he's going to be a match made in heaven for Thomas Sorber, who was somebody I've seen in a lot of mocks slide. That's mainly due to his injury, because if it wasn't for the injury, I think he would be right up there with Kamon Maliwatch in terms of where they could go all over the lottery. But I think the Hawks get a really good pick there. And they could go Rasheer Fleming, but I'm like, you need to address a big. And I think getting somebody that could pair well with double O is going to be very good for Atlanta going forward. San Antonio, very interesting spot, because you go Dylan Harper with the second pick. Kasparis is still on the board here. Derek Queen's interesting, but they just need depth. I feel like the Spurs have been in a lot of trade rumors, but they don't really have the depth that you would think they would have. So they could go a couple different routes. This is interesting. I like Rasheer Fleming because, like I said, if you were to make some kind of Kevin Durant trade, you're going to be like Devin Vassell, Kelvin Johnson, right? Harrison Barnes might be thrown in a deal. So, like, I like Rasheer Fleming here. Cedric Howard, very interesting pick as well. Derek Queen's interesting because he can play off of Wemby, and when he is able to have the ball in his hands, he's just very good, has a natural go-to guy and a scorer, to where you can have him and Wemby on the court together, and Wemby can kind of clean up a lot of those defensive flaws that Derek Queen does have going into the league. I do worry about the spacing and the shot with Derek Queen, but I think I'm talking myself into them adding a little bit more size and front court depth. And somebody like Derek Queen, who's super, super skilled, and you can worry about the flaws later, but you get a skilled guy in Derek Queen. So in your first 2 picks, if you're San Antonio, at number 2, you get Dylan Harper, and then at number 14, you get a super skilled big in Derek Queen. I think you really like what you got here in this draft. OKC on the board. Now, this is an interesting one because they could trade this pick. This pick's probably not even playing next year for OKC. I see Kasparis and Igor Demin on the board, but you got to think they have Nikola Topic as well, who's going to be ready to go next year, and who knows if he even is cracking the rotation depending on what they do this offseason and depending on how their season ends on Sunday in Game 7. So looking at this, Jace Richardson's interesting for sure. They could use just a little bit more shooting and scoring in general, but they could go a high upside pick here because when you're thinking of who they have, like who's going to be on this team and who's going to be in this rotation next year, and if they pretty much run the same core back, adding Nikola Topic, maybe they add another role player that can shoot in the offseason. Like most of these guys that they draft right here aren't playing, so maybe they just take the project play. I know that it's kind of like the OKC thing to do, and they've taken a lot of project guys and project plays, but maybe that's still like the route they want to go in, or maybe they take somebody that's more ready. Like, I never know what to think with OKC. I really never really know what to think with OKC. They could just use a little bit more size, though. Like, I feel like outside of, like, Hartenstein and Chet, like, they don't really have, like, another 6'8", 6'9" wing that can come off that bench and just do a little bit of everything. Somebody that could be more NBA ready. I'm going to go Rasheer Fleming. Even if he's a little bit older, but I still think he is somebody that, out of all the guys on the board, I think, has the best chance of playing for them next year because of his size and athleticism and his wingspan. It just feels like a perfect fit for what OKC wants to do defensively. So looking at the Memphis Grizzlies, so since the trade, this was the Orlando Magic's pick, so now the Memphis Grizzlies are on the clock, and this is an interesting spot because they can go a number of different ways here. So no Desmond Bane, John Morant, Triple J. Seems like they could use a little bit of scoring. Like, I still like Scottie Pippen Jr. has your backup point guard. So, like, you could go 2, but then it's like you're kind of getting yourself into the same situation where if you take a Jace Richardson, Like, that's on two undersized guards in your backcourt with Ja and Chase Richardson. Like, can they be on the court at the same time together? Like, Igor Demon has the size, but then you worry about the spacing. If the shot can stay consistent at the NBA level, Kasparis is still here as well. But I'm like, what direction is Memphis going in? What direction does Memphis go in right here? I think because you still got question marks from like G.G. Jackson, still have Vince Williams. I like Santi Aldama. Like, where do they go? You still have Jalen Wells. Like, man, they are a tough team to kind of draft for. Like, Nee Clifford's here. Man, this is interesting. Cedric Howard's here because I don't know. Like, is Memphis taking like a step back with this trade with all the draft capital they just got going into next year with no Bane? Ugh. Cedric Howard's here. I was thinking about somebody like Will Riley, somebody that can just provide some spacing and play off of a John Morant and Triple J, who can just be a flamethrower for you. I'm going to go with... I'm just going to think they're still looking to somewhat compete. Oh, I like Nee Clifford. Let me know in the comments. Cedric Howard, Nee Clifford, or Will Riley right here for the Grizzlies. Because I like the shooting ability of a Will Riley and his size next to a John Morant. I'm going to go Will Riley. I'm going to go Will Riley because of his ability to play without the basketball and his ability to shoot in space and be able to create as well. Towards the back half of the year at Illinois, he was also very good with the ball in his hands initiating the offense. So that can give them another wing that I think they desperately need that can space and do a little bit of everything for them. Now, Minnesota, super interesting spot for them because of what they did last year. They're also in another team that's like in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes and not at the same time because he doesn't want to go there. So looking at that, what are they going to do with Julius Randle? Nas Reed is a free agent as well. Mike Conley only has so much time left. Rob Dillingham, who is somebody I like but seems more of an Emmanuel Quickley go-to scorer off your bench, spark plug, rather than a playmaking facilitator. So I really do like them going with the point guard here. Kasparis is here. Igor Demon's here. I love Igor Demon's size on this team next to Anthony Edwards. But I'm going to go Kasparis because I think the shooting ability compared to an Igor Demon is better, and I think Kasparis has a playmaking guard is better than Rob Dillingham, and he still has the size to where like you can play him and Rob Dillingham on the court at the same time. But I do like the shot and the spacing ability of Kasparis over an Igor Demon, especially in Minnesota, a team that could use another guy that can knock down shots on the perimeter. Now, Washington took Jeremiah Fears at 6. They're in a position to where they could go big here. Isn't too many bigs on the board that could fit what they want to do with Alex Sarr there still. So I think they could better address that in free agency because I think Alex Sarr is best fit at the 5 for them. So looking at this, you took Jeremiah Fears. Man, they can go a number of different ways because it's like, is Chris Middleton on this roster? Is he going to opt out? Like Jordan Poole, what are they going to do with him? Could they find a trade? Marcus Smart, could they find a trade? Like Bilal. It's really Bilal and Sarr, Carrington, Keyshawn George. You still got A.J. Johnson. So A.J. Johnson and Jeremiah Fears at that point guard's position. Like, number of different ways you can go. But they have a lot going on this roster. Liam McNeely's not bad value here. He is not bad value here. Because they could use somebody that can just be a connecting piece, some shooting, some spacing. That because you already took kind of a high upside guy in Fears, who has his question marks. I think Liam McNeely has a very high floor of somebody that can be a very good shooter connecting piece. And I've seen a lot of hate about like Liam McNeely, somebody who was a consensus lottery pick to start the college basketball season last year, but like he really only had just a couple like back half of the season of bad shooting. And he got injured, which kind of caused that bad shooting. So I think he's still going to be perfectly fine. And I'm going to go with Liam McNeely here to Washington. Might not be the sexiest pick, but his spacing and shooting and connective piece can kind of be the glue that holds a team like this together in Washington. Now, Brooklyn, plethora of picks. Now we are at 19. Noah Etzengate, high upside swing at 8. Now they can go a number of different directions, but I really, really like Igor Demin here. Long, rangy point guard. If the shot is consistent, then you have a real matchup problem for opposing teams' guards with his size and his ability to pass. So you're pairing Igor Demin up, somebody who can facilitate, play make, and get the ball to somebody like Noah Essengay, and who knows what they do with the rest of this roster and their draft capital. But I like Igor Demin to the Brooklyn Nets. Miami. Man, seen a lot of Nick Clifford here. Cedric Howard seems like the perfect Miami guy where he would come in and have a really, really good rookie year just in that system and culture. I like Jace Richardson with his ability to shoot in space. I just have a hard time thinking Jace Richardson falls so far. It's just tough because it's like, what's it look like with him and Tyler Hero on the court together, right? So you have Khalil Ware, you have Bam, Hero, probably Wiggins next year. I like Davion Mitchell, and I really like his fit, so I don't think you need to go somebody like Jace Richardson here. I'm going to go with, it just seems like the Miami Heat kind of pick. It just seems like the Miami Heat. Miami Heat, if this was the board and the Miami Heat were on the clock, it's either Cedric Howard or Nick Clifford. I'm going to go Nick Clifford. He seems like just a perfect Miami-fitting guy, somebody that's going to be ready right away coming into the door for Eric Spoelstra, somebody who, in my opinion, in Miami could see a door opening as well. They're kind of in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes as well. So Nick Clifford, somebody that can give them minutes right away next year. Utah had Trey Johnson with the 5th overall pick back up on the clock. They can really go, they have a lot but nothing at the same time. They can really go a bunch of different directions. So Trey Johnson, you have Isaiah Collier, Trey Johnson, Keontae George. Maybe you move Colin Sexton, James with Jordan Clarkson. You have Cody Williams still. See how he turns out. You have Lauri Markkanen. John Collins could possibly get moved. Walker Kessler could possibly always get moved. So, could just be Danny Wolf and Lauri and Walker Kessler. That's interesting. Not saying it would work, but it's interesting. I'm going to go Danny Wolf here. I think it's good, really, really good value. Trey Johnson and Danny Wolf for the Utah Jazz in the first round. Atlanta back on the clock. Thomas Sorber was 13th pick. Really good pick for them. They have a bunch of guards on the board that they can still go. Ben Seraph is still here, but I'm going to go with Jace Richardson. You got your big here. I think you have a plethora of wings. You're still going to probably have Karis LeVert, Terrence Mann, Larry Nance Jr. Let's get some spacing from that guard spot off the bench in Jace Richardson. So they end up with Jace Richardson and Thomas Sorber in this year's draft. Pelicans, they ended up with Ace Bailey at 7. They're back on the clock now due to the Pacers trade. They could really go a bunch of different ways. Point guard could be interesting because who knows how long DeJounte Murray is out for going into next year. But you still have Jose Alvarado. They went Ace Bailey. Not mad at them. Maybe taking an upside swing on Juwan Behringer, because they could use another big. It's interesting. I like Cedric Howard. I don't know how his fit, because I don't know what the Pelicans are doing, right? I do not know what the Pelicans are doing whatsoever. But you go Ace Bailey. Let's take a high upside swing in Nolan Traore, because I just am so confident that they're going to address the big spot in free agency, and I think they'd rather go that route anyways. So let's take a swing in Nolan Traore to the Pelicans, because they just have a lot going on there on the wings to where I think they wouldn't take Cedric Howard, and they could use somebody with a more playmaking mindset in Traore on this team, especially because who knows how long DeJounte Murray is going to be out with that Achilles. OKC Thunder on the clock again. They took Rasheer Fleming. This is a perfect time for them to take a high upside swing, Juwan Behringer, because at some point Isaiah Hartenstein isn't going to be on this team due to just money restrictions in general for OKC. So taking somebody like Juwan Behringer is kind of addressing a need that you know you're going to have in the next couple of years. Now with the Orlando Magic, this is an interesting spot because you got to think you have Desmond Bane now. So who knows what you do with Jonathan Isaac. Maybe you go with the Jonathan Isaac replacement here. But this is where I think they go and get Cedric Howard. This is a perfect, ready-to-play, fitting piece that fits what Orlando wants to do. So now you added Desmond Bane this offseason. Now you add Cedric Howard with your first-round pick in this year's draft. Now, Nets back up with back-to-back picks. Noah Essengay, Igor Demin. I'd like them to get a little bit more NBA-ready pieces. I like Abdul Thiero. somebody who can just be a nice wing that can defend right away, and you throw him out there and see what you have with him. So I like that fit right there. Now, back on the clock again, so you already have Igor Demin at your guard spot. Hugo Gonzalez is here if you want to take another high upside swing. Man, this is very interesting. Maxime is here, but it's like, what are you doing with Claxton, Noah Essengay? You could go Maxime. Man, oh man. Ben Seraph is still here. Walter Clayton is still here. Like, who's your guards next year? Like, are you bringing back Cam Thomas? That's what I'm trying to think. Like, Day'Ron Sharpe, are you bringing back? What are you doing with Claxton? God, you just have a bunch of whatever over there in Brooklyn right now. I really hope they pick, like, a direction and find it kindly, like, get some guys that they're really confident in going forward. But, man, they're just not... I like Cam Jones, but, like, Cam Jones doesn't really fit on this team. Kalkbrenner's here. I'm going to go Maxime because he's somebody that can space and do a lot on the court, and I love him with Jordi Fernandez over there in Brooklyn. And he can kind of just be the replacement. Now you have him and Noah Essengay next with Igor Demin, Abdul Thiero. So I like Maxime. So if you're Brooklyn, you walk away with Noah Essengay, Abdul Thiero, Igor Demin, and Maxime. I'm really satisfied because now you can kind of have a clean slate, get rid of Nick Claxton. You don't feel like the need to bring back Cam Thomas unless you really, really want to. So now looking at the Boston Celtics, 29th overall pick. Number of different ways that they can go. A lot of moves that it seems like they're going to be wanting to make this offseason. They can go a couple of different ways. Kalkbrenner's an interesting one, pairing him up with Barry Shireman. College teammates. He's somebody that can kind of fill that like Luke Cornett void. And I think he's a little bit more just versatile than Luke Cornett because they're probably going to get priced out for him. I think that's the route I'm going because he has some kind of spacing ability, I feel like, that maybe they can tap into. And I think they just need to address a big. I think they definitely need to address a big because they have another pick in the top of the second, which I like them going and getting a guard. But let's get Ryan Kalkbrenner right here on the Boston Celtics. Now, with the way things fell, Phoenix, I feel like they would want to end up with a big in this year's draft for sure. But it's just like, where's that big going to like come from? Like, man, they're just really... Hansen Yang could be an interesting piece for them, but it's like, is he making the biggest difference right away? Like, Ben Seraph is here. I think he could be that point guard because you're probably going to lose Tyus Jones. So, like, looking at Ben Seraph, he could be like a point guard for you right away next year that could play off of Devin Booker. Walter Clayton Jr. is still here. He's more of a scoring-minded guard as well. So, like, do you want to go that route? Ben Seraph or Walter Clayton? I'm going to go, I like Cam Jones. Can he be your main point guard, though, with Devin Booker? How do they fit? I'm going to go with Cam Jones. They need somebody more NBA ready compared to a Ben Seraph. Cam Jones is somebody that is very smart with the basketball, doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes with the ball in his hands. And I think him has a guard, even if he's coming off the bench, next to Devin Booker and Bradley Beal going into next year, I think is a very good add, especially because they're probably going to lose somebody like Tyus Jones. So now, LA Clippers with the 30th overall pick, last pick in the first round to wrap up this mock draft. They could really go a bunch of different ways, but I have a hard time thinking Walter Clayton Jr. falls out of the first round with how he performed in college. So let's go ahead and wrap out this first round with Walter Clayton Jr. to the LA Clippers. And this is going to be our first round mock draft. I will go over all the teams for the audio listeners out there. So at number 1, we had Cooper Flack to the Dallas Mavericks, Dylan Harper to the San Antonio Spurs, VJ Edgecombe to the Philadelphia 76ers, Con Knibble to the Charlotte Hornets at 4, Trey Johnson to the Jazz at 5, Jeremiah Fears to the Wizards at 6, Ace Bailey falls to the Pelicans at 7, Noah Essengay to the Brooklyn Nets at 8, Asa Newell to the Toronto Raptors at 9, Colin Murray-Boyles to the Houston Rockets at 10, Carter Bryant to the Blazers at 11, Kaman Malik Watch to the Bulls at 12, Thomas Sorber to the Hawks at 13, Derek Queen to the Spurs at 14, Rasheer Fleming to the OKC Thunder at 15, Will Riley to the Grizzlies at 16, Kasparis Yakuchonis to the Wolves at 17, Liam McNeely to the Wizards at 18, Igor Demin to the Nets at 19, Nick Clifford to the Miami Heat at 20, Danny Wolf to the Jazz at 21, Jace Richardson to the Hawks at 22, Nolan Traore to the Pelicans at 23, Joan Behringer to the OKC Thunder at 24, Cedric Howard 25 to the Orlando Magic, Abdul Thiero to the Nets at 26, Maxime to the Brooklyn Nets at 27, Ryan Kalkbrenner to the Celtics at 28, Cam Jones to the Suns at 29, and Walter Clayton Jr. to the LA Clippers at 30 to wrap out our final mock draft of the first round. The draft is next Wednesday. This video will probably be out at least on Sunday or Monday morning, but we'll always have fun doing these mock drafts. Thank you guys for tuning into the Barrel Talk podcast. Hope you tune in to future episodes.